All right. In your packets, your Scratchboard packets, you'll see a sheet like this. And it says below, practice creating values in the Scratchboard using the following techniques from dark to light. So you're making a value scale from dark, a range of midtones, and then light for each one of these. Just if you look at the techniques here, hatching, cross-hatching, stippling, and squiggles or marks of your choice, you will hopefully remember them from our last project, which was pen and ink. Because this is not an additive and subtractive medium, it's just a subtractive medium, so you can only scratch away. You need to use these techniques to create value because you can't blend or add and erase like you can with pencil. So here we're going to do hatching. You'll grab 4 pieces of small Scratchboard from this basket and then practice each technique, taping each one into your packet, and then you'll receive your formative or your practice grade from this. So from dark to light, hatching the set of parallel lines, and I can control the value of these lines. It's kind of shiny, sorry about that, by how close the lines are together. So the further apart the lines are from a distance, the darker the value is. The closer the lines are together, the lighter the value is. I can brush this off. I'm applying medium to light pressure to do this. If I applied a lot of pressure, it's going to scrape through a transparent film here that separates the India ink, which is the black stuff on top, from the porcelain clay on the bottom. So that's something that you'll be assessed on under your materials grade in the craftsmanship section. Just something to note. Here I'll go over and do cross-hatching over here, starting with a series of hatching lines. And again, they don't have to be straight. They can be curved if you want them to. Layering multiple sets of hatching lines over each other to create value. It's kind of like a reverse drawing. Being careful not to rip through that film. I kind of did right there because I pressed too hard. That's why you get to practice, so that you don't ruin your full page Scratchboard. Stippling. Tape this down. You don't have to, you can do tiny little dots like this, or you can do like small X patterns, or like really small squiggles. And I won't do this one on all of this. I want you to practice. But the closer together you put those dots, those little squiggly lines, the lighter your value will get. This is good for skin. These kind of techniques are good for hair, or you can create hatching and cross-hatching lines to go across the contour of someone's face. If you're doing an animal with a lot of fur, pay attention to the direction and the length of the hair, and then simulate that through hatching. Squiggles and marks of your choice, I'll leave that up to you. Some people like doing different shapes over and over again. Just practice building up value from dark to light. So that's what you do first, and hopefully you've printed out 2 pictures, your original pictures. Here's a really exciting still life that I took a picture of. Woo. I'll zoom out for this one a little bit. And I'm going to take a piece of Scratchboard paper, and then I'll tape it. You measured your picture so that it is right up to the edges of an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, and the Scratchboard is the same size, and I think they do that intentionally. It's kind of nice. So I'm going to line this up. I'm going to tape it down on at least two corners so that this just really stays put. The scratchboard is kind of arched. If it's arching up like that and that bothers you, you can also tape it down to the table too. Let's move this a little bit. There we go. So now what I want to find is a ballpoint pen. Hopefully you have one of these. If not, I do have some that you can borrow. It doesn't have to be blue or black or any specific color. We use this over pencil because we can press with a harder pressure onto our paper. Pencil, since the graphite kind of breaks off on the paper, it's not as good of a line or a transfer. And what I will do is I'm going to trace using a decent amount of pressure here around the contour outline of my objects. I don't have to do any shading. I just want to be able to keep my proportions and kind of give myself a template when I start scratching away. This is why and I won't do all of this, I'll just do the base. This is why you printed off two of these, and if you didn't, hopefully you saved your image and you can print off another one, because working from this now, since I'm drawing all over it, a lot of the detail will be lost. We want to use this for its purpose, toss it, and then get a fresh one. Within objects, I'm doing this a little bit faster than I would normally, but within objects where there's different values, you want to indicate those too. So kind of draw lines around where areas of dark meet areas of light. The more detail you give yourself here, the more successful you'll be in the long run. So although it's not the most fun part of this project, it is worth doing. I'll go around this here, indicating where those values are broken up. Alright, and I don't know how well you'll be able to see this on this recording. I'll zoom in. But if I had traced all of what was going on in my picture, once I was done with that, I would untape this picture from the scratchboard, taking the tape off carefully so I don't ruin it. Yeah, we can see that. So if you, I can see this probably a little bit better than you can on this recording, but if I take my fresh picture and I can see that tracing that I've done show up. It's an indent. Some people are concerned and they think, okay, well, is this going to stay there for the whole time? Once you begin scratching into your scratchboard with your tool and establishing different values, this will go away. So it's not too big of a deal. I'm going to start with this object right here, my vase. And some people get kind of tripped up on where to start with this. I want to be clear that just because it's the opposite process, so you're taking something away to make it light, whereas with most drawing mediums you would put something down to make it dark. You want to indicate on your scratchboard areas of light where there are areas of light. It's not a reverse drawing. You want to still draw what you see. I start in each object with the lightest areas of highlight before going into the midtones. I do a lot of hatching and cross hatching, and I'm mindful about my strokes representing the contour of the object. So I'm not making horizontal strokes for this vase that is vertically standing. So just indicating the lightest areas. Working from light to dark will help me avoid scratching too much away too soon. There are rather two sides of the Scratchboard tool. If you want to scratch a lot of surface area away, you can turn it on its side and then scrape that way. Or if you want finer lines like what I'm doing now, you hold the tip kind of perpendicular to the paper. So once I establish some of these, the lightest areas, I can go in and start creating some of that mid-tone. So I'm working from light to mid-tone and leaving my dark areas alone. And then I would just continue to work this up. And I like to work every object or every part of my composition up at the same pace. So I would, do about this much to one object and then go around and then do it to all of my other objects too, because I find that kind of working each object up together helps me be able to unify my piece, so all my piece kind of has the same feeling, and I can also be able to judge values off of each other better. So I could take this highlight right here, for example, and then judge it against this highlight right here, which isn't as light. So the more visual information I have on the piece of paper at one time, the better this turns out to be. And in a minute I will grab an example that I have that I've done. If you want to see it, I can show you that too. But the tools are right up here. I'll put the little pieces of Scratchboards here, and then I have whole pieces once you are finished right up here. I also will grab you some tape, and you can go ahead and get started.